I'm sure you've been asked a lot of times, is it fun to play a villain? Because people like to ask that. But I'm interested in if it's fun to play this type of villain where you really, really get to kind of ham it up.
I've enjoyed playing villains this past year in particular. Baddies seem to be coming my way a lot. I think maybe somebody is seeing something in me that I'm not. I think my rage is deeply buried, but apparently it's on show. This particular villain, Lady Helen, is wonderful because she has so much money and power, and she's the top of the pyramid, and so just enjoys that view. And when you've got that amount of money and nobody challenging you, all the toys are yours, and you can throw them out of the pram if you want to.
So I'm interested because this project could not be further sort of tonally from Sexy Beast, but both require to some degree these both your performances to be play characters who they have a kind of dark edge. They can be quite unpredictable, quite intimidating at times. I just wondered if you find your approach and your process is altered depending on the kind of tonality of the show you're making, or if you always kind of approach every character in the same sort of way.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Yeah, the tones of those two shows are very, very different. I think that if a person or a character takes themselves too seriously, then they're not really accessible as human beings, all right? If somebody walks into the room who's really serious about themselves, there's not much access. But both of those characters, I think, are clued into the terribly dark comedy of being a human being, because it's in many ways risible, but yet we survive it. So I think, my approach is probably similar, but it's really about how these characters have survived their context.
Do you think, having this past year, you said you've kind of been playing a few sort of bad people. Do you think it's gives you quite a richer understanding of society when you have to yourself get into the head of people that are very dissimilar to yourself?
Maybe these characters are not so dissimilar to me. Maybe I just present really well. I think there are parts of every human being that are questionable. And it's really about emphasizing those elements. You know, we spend a lot of our time, human beings, in presenting well and keeping hidden that which is unacceptable or shameful. And so if you can accentuate those and bring those to the surface, I think people can be challenged, but also secretly agree that that's probably in them.
So I do a bit of sort of stuff on set, and whenever I go onto a set like a bit like sort of Dick Turpin set, it always takes my breath away seeing so many extras all standing in their kind of costumes and people, the whole world it creates. As someone, you've been in such a sort of myriad of shows now, but does it still always take your breath away a bit when you walk onto a kind of set that's been built that creates a whole world quite dissimilar to our own?
When I first walked onto a TV set when I was very new in the business, I couldn't believe that the crews were so quiet, that the departments were so distinct, yet they worked like this wonderful organism, and that still takes my breath away. The way crews know exactly what they're doing, and they're brilliant in their own right, but they know that they can't do what they do without the other departments. And I love that kind of unspoken communication. It is. You're right, it does take your breath away.
And obviously there's some incredible costumes that come with a show like this. Did you get to keep any souvenirs? I'm not going to say did you steal any souvenirs. I'm going to ask if you got to keep, if they gave you any, because I know I was speaking to the other guys before and they were saying they got to nab a couple of bits to take home.
If other people have taken stuff away from set, that's because they are thieves.
Yes.
I didn't get anything. I wasn't offered anything. I think I got a nice bottle of something. But there were a pair of very delicious green bespoke boots that were made for me and would fit nobody else. So if someone else is out there wearing them, I hope they're really uncomfortable.
But yesterday I spoke to Olivia Colman. She says she just takes chairs from places. So I think her house is just full of chairs from different films that she made. But
I feel sorry for her.
But if you were alive back then, where would you fit into this kind of the society back then? Everyone seems to have a bit of a role. You obviously get your kind of your outlaws or peasants or your kind of royalty. Where do you think you would fit into the landscape back then?
I would like to think that I would be top of the pyramid. I think the reality is I'd probably be the child running the pub. powerfully, but without much understanding of what alcohol does.
As someone who's been involved in so many kind of great comedy shows over the years, it must get to a point where you know so many people kind of on these sets, particularly with a show like this, there's so many familiar faces to audience members. Is that quite a nice familiarity? Is it quite comforting to go onto a set when there's kind of such a whole room full of faces that you've sort of probably maybe met across the years?
It's really thrilling when you turn up and you don't know quite who's going to be there. I was really excited that Joe Wilkinson was on this. I'm a huge fan of what he does. I'd never worked with him, and so it was wonderful to do that particular scene with him. And then, of course, someone like Mark Heap, who I think of all the actors I've worked with, I've worked most on the most number of different projects with Mark Heap. So it's always wonderful to cross swords with him. Although, unfortunately, Lady Helen and John don't ever participate in life on camera, but maybe there will be space for that.
Yes, I was going to say, well, hopefully we'll catch up again for season 2.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey, you guys!
Hey You Guys!
Hey, that's what they all say.
Hey You Guys!
Hey